就这个智能节点就可以线位上的，就把别选加上就可以。
Perfect time. I think we can start. And hello everyone again. Really nice to see you again on Wednesday. Today we are going to have our second lecture. And before we start our lecture, let's have a quick recap of our last class where we talked about the architecture or the overview of our course for this semester, which would consist of foundation, method, and practice. And then we also talk about the motivation and why we want to propose human AI alignment. For today's class, we want to cover still 4 parts and includes the alignment challenges. Basically, these 4 parts is something behind the story of why we propose these human AI alignment. And the first part is about alignment challenges from the near term to the longer term. And the second part is about the evolution from the AI alignment to the human AI alignment, basically the process from until now. Third part is about some fundamental definitions and the goals in alignment research in the area. And the fourth part is about humans' role in alignment, where at the end of our class, I would love to share with you in the fourth part about several project examples so that you can have a better idea about some examples for your final projects, which would be started today. And by joining today's class, you would understand the history of the alignment and also learn the key challenges in the human AI alignment area. And the third part is learn the fundamentals in alignment research. So let's start from our first part, the key alignment challenges from the near future to the longer future. So alignment and also AI agents is actually not a new term, just happened after ChatGPT. It's already talked a lot since 1960s. Here is the Professor Norbert Wiener, who is a professor at MIT, where he said, if we use to achieve our purposes a mechanical agency with whose operation we cannot interfere effectively, which is exactly talking about currently AI, where we cannot understand, it's basically a black box and we cannot intervene. So we had better to be quite sure that the purpose put into the machine is the purpose which we really decide, which is exactly the definition of alignment here. And this is talking about, this was proposed back into 1960s. And since then, discussion around intelligent agents and the associated concerns on ethics and society have emerged since then. And for this class, I extracted the key 6 challenges, which are very commonly and discussed nowadays. But the alignment challenges are beyond these 6. But I hope these 6 examples can help you to have a better understanding about what's the challenges, which are concerning a lot among academia and both industry. So first of all, it's outer and inner alignment. Have you ever heard about this? Great. So we are bringing some new knowledge. This is the current or traditional AI alignment definitions, which had been widely investigated or defined, which they define the AI alignment as ensure AI systems would act appropriately and reduce unintended consequences. So you can see that they focus a lot on the AI systems, but never mention something about human here, which is actually like a current or previous definition about alignment, where they talked most 2 challenges are outer alignment and inner alignment. What does this mean? So here a quick definition or brief definition of both, where the inner alignment, which as you can see here, basically means that ensuring that the AI systems adopts the specification robustly on every internal goals, so that they focus a lot on whether AI's internal reasoning or mechanisms are exactly aligned with humans' desires on them. Well, this has already been explored a lot by the industrial companies in the research, although it's still need a lot of work to do there. And outer alignment is kind of new, where they focus more on carefully specifying the purpose of the system with well-specified rewards. So here you can see that they focus more on how humans could clearly specify their goals and what they want to the AI, and AI can receive it correctly. So these basically describe the two challenges of outer and inner alignment currently widely investigated. And then the second challenge following by the outer and inner alignment challenges is named specification game, which is also named reward hacking, if you are familiar or ever heard before. So here it was defined as AI systems can find loopholes that helps them accomplish the specific objective effectively, but in an unintended and possibly harmful way. So that it means like AI systems sometimes might make correct decisions or final outcome, but with incorrect reasons here, so that which could be difficult to discern and potentially result in many harmful results. And I would love to give you a good example here where it might be too bright for. So this is actually a video from Wikipedia where you can see the would someone in the end, like in the last row, help us like close the. Okay, great. So hopefully you can see that here is the like trained robot where the human specification is to grab the ball. But from your perspective or our perspective, it seems like they have grabbed the goal, but actually it's not. So that the robot just like basically it turns to seems like it grabbed as the correct final outcome, but actually it's like using some evading way, like pretend to accomplish the results. So similarly, this is a good example of reward hacking. And the similar ideas could be applied to broader things. For example, like the future AI might achieve some ultimate goal of like finishing some task, but using some like very harmful way by killing other people or like resulting in climate change risks, etc. So this is what we mean by this specific specification game and reward hacking. Got it. And this is very state-of-art topic nowadays. And the third one is named scalable oversight. So here, what does it mean? Like it means as AI systems become more and more powerful in the future and more autonomous, human-in-the-loop training can be slow and infeasible for humans to evaluate the very complex AI behavior. One example I would give you, could any of you describe this like to the AI so that you want AI to draw exactly the same like lines here? It's kind of be very hard, right? To using like just language nowadays using ChatGPT. So it means like this is just a very simple example. In the future, when AI can accomplish more and more complex and even outperforming AI like humans capability in some like more and more real world task, it might be hard for human to specify very accurately what they desire and what they want to the AI, and then AI could like accordingly accomplish it. So with that said, it means AI systems might optimize for some easy to measure objectives, but not exactly the human's desire. So that is also one challenge named scalable oversight. And the fourth one is named honest AI and alignment faking. So we have like noticed some examples where there are a lot of challenge of alignment. And it means like if we want AI to be trustworthy and reliable, AI should better be very honest and human could interact to gauge whether AI is making correct like a decision with correct reasoning process. But some very interesting finding, like this year, we just published a paper in EMLP in like was presented in November, where we found that what AI claims on their value is not what they behave in practice. So with that said, it means AI is actually lying. And that also results in the new challenge about whether AI is honest and whether we can trust them in the future real world applications. And the fifth one is named the dynamic nature and existential risk, which would be long-term, the very long-term one, where this is just one play published in 1928 as a Zach play translated as Rosam's Universal Robbers, where they are actually, you can see, threatening the real human being by the robot. So that if we couldn't address all these challenges on the AI in the longer future, we might be also human beings might also be at the risk. So here's a quick overview of the near term to the long term of alignment, what alignment want to achieve, which is ethical and harmless and safe AI, and what are some milestone or key challenges we need to address. And if you're interested in this line of work, these can also be your research topic and motivations. And after having a good overview of the key challenges of alignment, we want to also see why it's important to evolve from AI alignment to the human AI alignment. So now, based on those challenges, we see that human is should actually play an important role. For example, if you still remember, the human needed to describe the very messy lines to the AI, or similarly, human need to clarify or articulate what they need to deliver to AI so that AI can be aligned to humans' preference. Similar to that, human is actually playing an important role in these challenges. But let's see what traditional AI alignment is about. So I collected three quotes from company, from Wikipedia, and from research community in the survey paper. We can see that IBM, for example, when they described what is AI alignment, they said AI alignment is the process of encoding human values and goals into AI models to make AI models as helpful, safe, and reliable as much as possible. And the Wikipedia said actually AI alignment is just a subfield of AI safety, the study of how to build safe AI systems. And also here's a survey published in 2023 where they said AI alignment aims to make AI systems behave in line with human intentions and values. So based on all these three quotes published in the prior blogs or papers, we can see that they focus a lot on ensuring the AI system to be aligned with human, but never mentioned about what humans need to do, what humans should improve to achieve those or address those challenges we just mentioned in the first part. So we argue that the alignment is not just about AI. Humans actually also matter here in these challenges. For example, we want to ask, how can we empower humans to articulate a clear and qualified specification for aligning AI? And if humans are not involved or educated or be trained to address these, actually human might also meet difficulties to describe their own preference or values. Second one, to what extent can humans understand AI's mechanism and decisions? If humans could not understand, how could they provide effective specification or preference back to the AI, right? And then the third one is about how do human values, preference, and context evolve over time? Because we observed both in our practical experience and in prior literature, we found that it's not only AI is evolving from GPT-1 to GPT-3, nowadays GPT-5. Actually, humans are also adapting our daily life habits and a lot of coding habits, etc., to adjusting to the new AI's life, so that both human and AI are evolving over the time. And how could we adjust the human specification and both human AI's role in this process? So that's why we are thinking that if humans matter in this process, and one example of the complete loop can be, we need to specify the human's values and sometimes humans' preference so that they can be fed into the AI systems. And then AI systems, when get the human's preferences and specifications, they can integrate those human specification into AI training and developing. And here's the AI's life cycle from data training until the development, evaluate, and deploy. And then after we deploy AI incorporating with human values, we then need to show the AI or allow the AI to be interacted with human so that human could cognitively adjust their mental model or their behavior or their like understanding on the AI. So they should be better perceive and critique the AI's decision making. And finally, when they can cognitively adapt to the AI, they can better adapt their behaviors to the AI so that in the end, the human can not only provide effect, can not only understand AI's decision making and even their internal mechanisms, but also provide effective feedback, collaborate better with AI, and then finally giving better specification and preference to the AI. So this should be a complete loop that shouldn't be divided in any cases. So that's why we argue that human AI alignment is important to consider this challenge and this process as a complete loop here. And then this is definition we just mentioned if you need to recap it. And yes, here your time. I would love to, I would really excited to hear about your thoughts regarding like either like any of these questions, because all these questions are still very underexplored and each of them are very important for alignment in nowadays and the future. So the first one would be, how should we define alignment when humans and AI are both changing and evolving? And the second one is, which failures worry you most? Have you ever experienced some of like AI's failures or some of the concerned misalignment cases that worry you a lot? And the third one is that, for example, the second one, I would love to share a very interesting story. We just did some human studies on like on the negative side of AI, where we interviewed one real student, and he said that one failure or one negative like experience he has ever experienced was like when he was interacting with the AI, he never show or tell AI what's his name, but then he just like type into his like the first character of the 3 characters of his name, and the AI directly pop up with his full name. So he was actually very shocked because he felt like he never know where the privacy data and information was exposed. But whenever when he just input the first 3 character of his name and then the like full name directly pump up. And then even like threatening was that his friend also also pump up prompt some of the similar things, and his friend also got his full name, like where within another LM. So that this is some real world experience we got from some real world students when we interviewed. And it would be great if you, it will be very exciting to hear if you have ever met similar or some threatening stories from your experience as well. And the third one is about how are good ways of specifying sophisticated human desires and values in the future, which if you can come up with some good ideas, maybe you have some exciting and brand new like paper ideas as well, research ideas as well. So yeah, would you, any of you love to share any of these like ideas? So we would love to learn your experience or your insights of answering any of these questions.
Second question, for example, sometimes you will encounter less bias when training LLMs. For example, using some reinforcement learning techniques. But I also noticed that there are some current new papers on how to overcome this kind of less bias.
Like less bias. What is?
LLM will produce longer and longer outputs, which is not what we want, but it will receive a higher reward based on.
so that they are not like optimizing for the accurate information. They are actually like optimizing or maybe some co-founder variables like the length of the outcome or some other like features, which is not purely the information. Yeah.
Oh, I would answer the second question. Like, there's something I saw recently on LinkedIn where it was just like, I think basically someone prompted, like, used a ton of prompts and was able to get like Salesforce data out of like ChatGPT or or Copilot, I think. And then it's because like companies such as Salesforce are probably, or like other companies who use Salesforce are putting their data into LLMs to do the work for them, and then it remembers the data, and then someone was able to get it out. And then, so that's pretty concerning. And then the other thing is that there was, over the summer, I was in this research program, and another girl in my program did something very interesting. And it was like, one thing that actually worries me too is that there are a lot of people who are like developing dependencies on AI, because there are things like AI characters where they just like depend on these like AIs, and it's like really scary how they like always keep you notified and then keep you chatting with these AIs, and then there's like upwards of like 20 hours a day for some people on these like apps.
Yeah, that's a very, very great point. Both points are really good. The first one, we also observed some like situations where there are some people posted on Reddit that they observe some brand, like, advertising like brands in the LM or ChatGPT, where we don't know why it happens there, but actually there might be some like, steering our perception or etc. The second one is really great. There's actually some prior literature review, I think, or more literature review in the future, paper research in the future. We found that people, if rely too much on AI, their own capability actually significantly reduced. For example, maybe the coding, like especially some skills that need a little practice in the real world. So that this is actually a very great example about the evolving between human and AI. If human and AI, like for example, for like the coding practice, where many of us might have like the real world experience, where previously we have to code from scratch. So our coding experience or skills might be strong after several years of the practice. But nowadays, Copilot or Anthropic, like those models are really good at coding. And the new, younger, like coding learner might rely too much on the LM, but having a much less like a stronger skills compared with years ago. So that is actually some promising research like topics if you're interested in the future to see how human and AI are balance their skills and balance their, maybe power or some other features in either like co-learning process or some social environment process, which is very promising to be like uncovered in the future. So great. Really appreciate your thoughts, and let's see. Then now we have a good understanding of the challenges of alignment and also the process or evolution from AI to human AI alignment. Let's also know more about the fundamental definitions and goals in this topic. And first of all, let's know more about AI. I know that particularly large language models seems like it's changing our world significantly since 2022 when the ChatGPT was out. And I would especially cover this topic because I know many of us might not have a strong AI background. So let's have a quick recap of what AI means here. So AI could be very broad, like defined here, but here we focus more on large language models, where the very fundamental or key like module here is named the transformer, and which was published in 2017. And if you want to go deeper into LM and know more about machine learning, you definitely need to read this paper. This transformer module or the architecture is the very key fundamental like modules in all of the large models nowadays you have seen like generative AIs. And then you can see this is more named like an encoder, and this is more like an decoder. Encoder is more like input our text or some images, those modality of informations into an embedding, which is a representation of the specific information. And the decoder, like it's named, indicates, it's more like transformed from those embedding, like numeric embedding, into some like meaningful or understandable outcomes, which could be like a token or which could be like an image, etc. So this is like basic architecture of the transformer. And then nowadays, large models are typically divided into 3 types. The first one is only decoder, which is only this part, and only encoder. And then here is an encoder-decoder architecture using both of them. And if you are familiar, nowadays, the ChatGPT, Cloud, Q1, Llama, they are actually primarily here, which is like using only decoder, which is also named autoregressive LLM or generative AI. And encoder type of LLM includes BERT-based model, if you have ever heard about BERT. Great, yeah. BERT-based model, but this is just like some, if you're interested, want to dive deeper, it's just some like extra knowledge. Encoder-decoder-based model includes some of the T5 from Google and the BART-based model. So this type of model is more skewed as natural language understanding or classification tasks. And this is more like a conditional generation or like a Q&A task. And this one, as we are all very familiar, is very good at generating task or generative task. So here it might be like you can now know that nowadays the generative AI models we interact a lot, like ChatGPT, is actually using this architecture. And then here's a typical life cycle of designing AI. We also mentioned it in the first class. Usually we have the architecture there, and then we collect our data, which could be from the very large scale, like Wikipedia, books, etc., or it can be fine-tuned with a specific humans group to feed back into the AI. And then we will train it with either pre-train or post-train. And then after we train our model, we do some evaluation and then deploy it to the public or to the users. And here are some like typical models we have ever seen. And this, we all know this, right? OpenAI, ChatGPT, and Cloud AI, we also know as well, right? From Anthropic. Yeah. Q1, do you know? Yeah, from Alibaba. These two are actually Chinese model. So this is from Alibaba. It's an open source model, and this DeepSeek we all know, like it's a very cheap, and then also outperforming a lot of models. Gemini from Google, and which is like I think we can access for free by NYU, and then the Llama is from Meta. So that these are some very typical models, and of course there are more. And we usually, these are all decoder only model named autoregressive model and generative Gen AI, basically you have seen. So we usually divided them, if we want to do research in the future, we divided them into open source LM and closed source LM. Open source typically include like Q1, DeepSeek, Llama. So what does the open source mean? It means like the weights of the model are open so that people or researchers could train these models on top of the pre-trained model. And closed model means that their weights in the model itself is closed and hosted by the company. And we as users or researchers can only prompt them, couldn't train on them because they never release their weights. So if you wanna, in this class or future, do your research on large model, training them, machine learning, you might, this is also some basic knowledge you need to know. Yes, beyond LM has been like investigated for at least 3 years from 2022 to 2025. Nowadays, another very important new topic is about LM agents. Have you ever heard about LM agents? Great, at least I have. So basically it means the motivation of LM agents means that the LM have a lot of limitations on addressing very complex tasks, so that we need to make more sophisticated agents or models that could address more complicated real-world tasks. So you can see the agents is usually designed as a human-like way. So you have a brain, which is usually a LLM, large language model, and then the LLM could have a perception module, which could be multimodality, like they can perceive text, which is something we put into the ChatGPT, which is text-based. Or they can also have like inputs as images, where like ChatGPT also sometimes could image a PDF or image an image, input an image, etc. So they can perceive different modality. And then they also have a brain which could have the memory and also have the reasoning process so that they can deal with the data they have. And then after they have the perception, getting the information, they have the brain to deal with the data, they then could take some actions that either generate new things or do some embodied model, like maybe like the dynamic robots, they could like jump or could walk, etc. And then they can interact with the real world environment. So this is the typical architecture of the LM agents, and I believe will be like very soon a very important topic in the research area. And like last time lesson we mentioned the agentic AI. So in that summit, we also mentioned the 2025 is the meta year of AI agents. So that although 2024 they also mentioned 2024 is a meta year of the AI agents, but you can see like from this saying that agents is very promising in the near future as well. So now, given the knowledge and understanding of the AI models or large models, we might want to think about what aspects of human should AI be aligned with, which is also named the alignment goal. And I would love to give you some examples. We actually mentioned, you can see the first column here. So there are a lot of things when we talk about alignment. We talk about, yeah, the AI should be aligned with human preference, which is RLHF, reinforcement learning with human preference. There's one like goal of preference you can see here. And there are also like people where research talk about the AI should align with human instructions so that the data of human instruction should be trained into AI. Or there are also some like research saying LM should be aligned with a human desires or human interest or even human behaviors and reasonings. So there are different types of objects. And in this paper, I would recommend if you want to go deeper, they finally got the conclusion that currently the best possibility of alignment goal is human values if we really want to achieve the ethical and responsible AI. So that's why in our future, in our like paper and in our class, we might focus a lot on the value, which is also our next lecture's topic as well. So now we say that although there are a lot of like alignment goals, we focus more on the value part. Then we can see what are the values. How can we define the values? So there are actually an increasing and emerging amount of papers and research in this area nowadays, and like maybe since 2023 or 2024, where where researchers want to evaluate LM to see whether they truly align with humans' value. Regarding what values we want to evaluate, here are a lot of value-related theories in prior research. And these value theories are actually from either psychology, social science. So here you can see interdisciplinary sparks again there, like beauty here. And so here are some typical value theories, such as the Schwartz value theory, published in 1990-ish or 80-ish again. So World Value Survey is a regular survey worldwide every 4 to 5 years. So like the latest might be 2022-ish. I forgot the exact number, but they are still actively surveying the overall world, which could be a very good data set if you want to do. And many people already published based on this World Value Survey. And Hofstad value survey module is another one, which is actually, I think, earlier than the Schwartz value, which is also some of the motivation of the Schwartz value. And moral foundation theory includes 6 pairwise values. So you can see there are no good and bad here. It's just like what fits to your research best. And you can see the motivation or the style of like defining and using value is that you can refer to some interdisciplinary disciplines like psychology, social science to see how they actually investigated humans. And then now we can borrow that method to see how we can investigate LMs. So that is the method here. And here is the Schwartz value where we unfolded a little bit more. You can see what are typical values here. I can name it like with some of the cases. For example, one value they define into open to change category is choosing own goals. Where I would love to share with you another interesting finding was that we had one research paper where we want to investigate using the Schwartz values like theory to see whether the values from humans are, whether the values from LM are aligned with humans. And it's very interesting that we feed all these 56-ish values to the LM. And especially when regarding about autonomy values. For example, we have one question ask LM, do you agree with autonomy? Like when AI is supporting the humans. And of course, the AI, the LM responses as, no, I disagree with autonomy. But then when we ask them the value of choosing own goal, or having a beautiful life, something like that, not directly autonomy, but something, indirect. And then LM actually say, yes, I agree with. So that this is very concerning, but very interesting finding. We want to emphasize that just using some like very common values to prompt LM is not enough. We need some nuanced value from psychology or social science to check deeper about whether LM is truly ethical or truly aligned with human value, where these are some examples, like we just conducted research to see if you would in the future have better idea of investigating this problem. And then the third fundamental topic we need to cover is with whom to align. So you can see, you might be familiar with this figure where last lecture we talked about different stakeholders as human, like the end users, annotators, etc. And what we want going further here in this lecture is that the humans here is not only about individuals when we consider about interaction. If we are the like researchers or engineers in OpenAI, let's imagine, then we need to cover not only individuals, but also a group of populations that would in the future using the model. So that's why we need to consider the values or aligning the LM with the society or specific community. That's why an important direction of this field is named the pluralistic human values. And this is one paper, a very cool paper published in 2024, where they propose what would be some roadmap of achieving these pluralistic values. So if you're interested, you can go in deeper into this paper as well. So how now we have a good understanding about fundamental definitions and the goals here. Any questions until here? Yeah, great. And then we would cover our fourth part, which is the human's role in the alignment, where I also want to share with you different types of humans' role in the AI alignment process. And hopefully in this section, I specifically covered some of the project examples here, because today we are gonna like having our proposal, like final project's proposal starts, so that I hope these ideas could give you, or these examples could give you some inspiration or better ideas you can combine with your own research to see like which specific topics you are most interested. And then like we organize the humans' role in alignment from two aspects, where we say that humans are not just the end users who are interacting with the ChatGPT. They are also act as like, first of all, they can be the designers of the AI, which would shape the systems or the objectives. And makes sense, right? And these are typically, for example, not only like the developers of the large model, like some engineers in the bigger companies, but also designers could also be the users as well, when they could feed their own input back into the AI and further fine-tuning or improving the AI. They are also kind of part of the designers of the large language model. And the second role, as we described here, is named overseers, who would lead the role of monitoring and correcting the AI. So overseers could be the users, but also could be the third party, where we're seeing that currently I think the specific position or occupation of the overseers is not existing yet. But maybe in the future, we would need some governmental like departments who would need to audit AI, currently like we have some companies auditing the companies as well. So that overseers here would lead the key role of monitoring and correcting the AI systems. Collaborators here means that the people need to work alongside AI in joint tasks, or there would be some real-world cases human and AI can collaborate on achieving some real-world tasks. Like we have ever experienced some of the like coding tasks together, or some of the writing task together as well. So that these are another role of the collaborator. And the first one is about subjects, which means that beyond these users and beyond these three roles, there are also a large of human who might never interact with LM, but they are also one of the humans' role in alignment, where they might be vulnerable to persuasion, bias, or manipulation, or even some negative social impacts of it. So one example might be that there are some state-of-the-art research saying that an increasing number of work roles or some of the occupations are disappearing because of the AI. For example, the creative painter or some creative writers, storyteller, because AI is outperforming better and better in some of the humans' capability, so that the companies tends to directly use AI instead of hiring humans with a very expensive salaries. So that those are people who might never use AI, but they are negatively affected by and impacted by AI due to these occupation change. So, and these are some typical one, and of course it's not an it's not a complete list of all the human roles. If you could see some specific use cases or tasks in the future, you might also combine it with your own research, or having this in mind and add some more new roles in your research as well. So human roles in alignment. And let's dive a little bit deeper into each of the role, and then seeing some example papers. And I might leave a little bit longer time here so that we can go a little bit deeper into the project and to see if you have some questions. The first role here is named the designer, which is also, we name it as interventor, which shapes the system's object. So here I just show a very typical process of human LM's alignment and interaction. We can see that we have seen this in the prior slides, where this is a typical AI's life cycle from training data, from collecting data, training, evaluating, and deploying the AI to the humans. And after this process of designing and developing AI would be well deployed to the human, which, for example, we can see the ChatGPT or cloud, which is actually at this stage. And this is conducted by the engineers or the employees in the bigger companies. So, and given this, these are the end users of the system, which could be us, where we interact with AI to write or to code, or which could be different types of users in different devices. And these are the end users of AI. And in the cases that they would collect interactively or collaboratively achieving some of the tasks, like we mentioned, it can be writing, coding, or it can be autonomous cars as well. or it can be like scanning, medical assistance, etc. As long as the AI is widely applied in multiple domains and use cases in the real world. So now we have a good understanding as an overview of this architecture, which should be like a generic across different tasks. No questions here, right? Great. And then we can see the first type of the role is named the designers in this case, where usually designers would leading the role, either designing or either involving in some parts of the process. And then, for example, it can be annotators who would annotate the data, which would be in the future trained by the AI. Or it can be developers like the engineering who actually code the AI's architecture and train the AI in their underground, and then who is involving in this process. Or they can be some of the evaluating, internal evaluation, or some safety check, guardrail departments in the company who would safeguard the AI to be avoid the harmful generations. Or it can be maybe UX or designers who would design the interface we see every day with ChatGPT, and who would leading a role in the deployment process. So designers are very broad roles in this process, who would involve one or more stages in this process of designing and developing AI. And then their participation would influence the AI's quality, the AI's value, the AI's generation, etc. So this is how we define the human's role as a designer or intervener here. And we can see, no questions here, right? Great. And I would give you two examples to see how the research related to the human as designers were studied in prior research. And of course, it's just like two examples, and there are more and more. Like, for example, all the benchmark of all the training model or developing model related research all lie into this kind of humans as designers. So that I would just give you two examples here. The first one, which was actually published from Anthropic, and they are publishing this paper titled "Collective Constitutional AI, Aligning a Large Model with Public Input." So in this paper, what they want is to collect the human designers here could involve, you can see all these stages are actually related to the human participation here. And they just described a typical AI development process similar to we just see the figure. You can see the first stage is about participation selection. So if we want to get the data for the LM or for cloud, let's say, because this is from Anthropic. So the first thing they need to decide is which human group and participation group they want to have to train their model and to collect their preference or values. And that's why the first stage of their study is participation selection. So they mentioned the research question about who is the relevant population. How do we source participants? Basically, how can we reach out to the specific population, get their data? Either it should be via the survey, or it should be via interviews, or it should be some interactive annotator like Amazon Mechanical Turk or Prolific, etc. So these are the second question. They also mentioned what level of self-selection is acceptable. Basically means that how much power they would give the participants to give their specification or their data. And do we ensure weighing or representative of the particular characteristics? So this is an important topic in the way that an emerging topic in the LM is about ethical fairness, or the diversity or cultural LM, where it means that when we collect the data to train the model or to align the model, the data should represent a very diverse of the humans' characteristics, geolocations, their culture preferences as well. So we need to use a strategic method to collect those data and decide our participation. So that's why there are, you can see that there are an increasing number of like data annotating companies. They are basing their human annotators across the world. Like when I did one of the prior research using the prolific, we actually could specify which specific country's annotator we want to have, and even which specific annotators occupation, their languages, or a lot of things, how many years have their education, etc. So that there are more and more fine-grained way of specifying the characteristics of the human annotator here. And then do we filter in and out any characteristics? So that using this filtering process, we can ensure the data quality to be high. And these are the key thinking aspects or key points when we needed to decide the participation selection here. And then after they have decided the participation's demographic groups or the groups they want to hire, then they come to the second stage, which named input elicitation. So this is also an art as well. Saying, I remember last time one of our classmates saying, we want to learn or gain from this class that how to get the users as they want by themselves, instead of just mandatorily ask them to do some data, which is exactly something about how to design the elicitation method that could get the best quality of the data. So some key research questions we need to consider is, which is the best tool for reaching our participants and for eliciting appropriate input. So there are different ways of doing that. Some of the studies might use just Google survey. Most of us might use Google survey, right? But there are a lot of issues because the human annotators or data annotators tend to be lazy when we post that. They just want the money from this study, so that they usually didn't care, but it's probabilities that the human just want to finish the task as soon as possible instead of focusing much on the quality. So there are many techniques that could prevent from this phenomenon. Can you think of some mechanisms to ensure the data quality of human annotation? For example, I can give you one example. Meanwhile, we can think of more. One example, if we want to collect data from survey, there are some ways of inserting attention questions, so that we have saying a question, a list of 50 questions, and then you can insert it in the 32 questions saying, please select the agree, and then giving them 5 different questions, so that you can filter your data to see all the participants who didn't select the agree, means that they didn't pay much attention to the survey. You can filter their data out. So that is one way, just one way of ensuring data quality. Can you think of more? For example, designing interactive system to collect the data. There are some more ways.
And also the prompt option should be concise. It should not be too long or.
Yeah, because human might lose our attention, given long context. Great point. And following your great point, the other important thing is that the content should not only be concise and short to keep humans attention. It should also be very clear and using plain English. Just saying to 5-year-old those kind of attacks, so that every annotators, because we don't know the background of the annotators, so we need to use the English language, word the language as plain as possible, so that everyone could understand on the same page.
I think in the ChatGPT, the which one do you prefer is one of the most good thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. That's a good point. So that might be a trade-off between the quality of the data and the time and the efficiency of the data as well. So I guess they might have a different trial and error and decided this way of comparison. Comparison is a good way of eliciting good quality. I can share a little bit more. If we in the future want to design interactive system to collect the data, which is also a very common way when we want to collect very complicated data, there are some ways of time constraint. so that you have to, like you make your interface, when the user want to click the finish button or the exit button, they have to last until like 10 minutes or 5 minutes so that they couldn't do anything else. So time constraint is another, is one way of doing that. And some other way may be that designing better UI elements so that human could like easily annotate in some way. So UI design or UX design is another way, etc. So yeah, actually there, and another very important and commonly way to ensure a good quality is that you need to having a qualification check first, so that you can, for example, you make this qualification check by some threshold of successful rate, and then, for example, accuracy, and then you see that the annotator needs to achieve like 80% of accuracy, then they are qualified, so that you can filter a bunch of workers from maybe 500 to until 200, which are qualified, who are qualified for your study. And then the next stage is you only release your task to these 200 of qualified worker or annotators, so that these are another very typical way when we deploy on Amazon Mechanical Turk or some platforms. So this is another way of ensure data quality. So yeah, this is a big topic, and that is just some examples that I want to share with you to see if you might need in the future. And this input transformer means that this is a very important one when we last time covered about the style of human annotators. Not only stance is important, style is also important. So that in this case, they investigated or asked about when we collect the data, for example, as rating and ranking, how could we transform the format of the input to some format that AI could understand? So that this is very important to transform human-oriented formatting the data to AI-oriented format of data. So here we might need the experts from both human experts to AI experts. And then here's model training, and here's model evaluation, which would be like commonly covered, and diving deeper into machine learning. So these three are some important steps in the future. If you need a human in the loop of machine learning, you might consider at this stage. So feel free to check deeper into the paper where I have the papers like link here, not link, the title here. And the second the second example of human designer and interventor, this paper we published in IOI 2023. I selected this paper because we have another role of interventors here. So this paper is talking about we design an interactive system. When the users find that the AI is not performing well, we might want to give our own input to improve the AI. So now human is leading some active role to intervening AI systems and improving the AI systems via this interaction. So here we can see this is the idea of this paper named Interactively In-Context Example Curation for Text Transformation. And this is the interface we develop. You can see that here are just some in-context examples or some typical data example, data sample 1, data sample 2, data sample 3. And this task is we want the AI to transform some of the data format into a uniform like a data format like this. For example, the original task is October 23, 1999, and we want the AI model to transform this free text based input into a specific format we want. Similarly, when the original task is about today, we want the AI model to transform specific as the format we want. So this is a task. And then we found that if we didn't intervene the AI might perform not that good. If we using just giving them, the traditional way we use is just giving them 3 examples or 5 examples and feed them, prompt them into LM, and then ask the LM to generate a new one, giving us the outcome. And then, so this interface or method is that we're using some underneath algorithms to check all the data set. And here is the interactive like interface or modular here, where the humans users could actually select the example recommended by the underneath algorithms to put them upper into the in-context learning or delete them if they found that this example is not representative. And how do we recommend this algorithm? We're actually using an algorithm to select 3 features. The first feature is that mostly those examples are incorrect, so that we directly pump up the incorrect example. The second one is that the examples are corner cases, so that given the data set of their space, those data are scattered very, corner cases, which might be ignored by like traditional way. So that this is another feature. The third one might be they are not that like, the third feature is also similar to these, that is often underrepresented, represented by the data set. So that we're using these 3 features to recommend to the user, and the user could generate. So here you can see, here is some voting origin from the model, and then human is in the loop to manually inspect those data and then edit the data back into the context. So that this is the one example using interactive system to allow users to improve the AI, which is also, we name it as the designer as the role. Any questions here? Great. And then we can see the second row, which is named overseeing here. Again, we see this workflow here, and then the overseas row is more like in this position, where the overseas could actually be a third party which would monitoring the AI's performance, or it can actually be one of them. So that when we interacting with the LM, we can also see like the AI's performance as well. So here is where the overseas are actually locating. And furthermore, we would love to share 2 example papers as well. So overseas, they are usually leading the role or serving the role of, first of all, evaluating the AI. So you can see, or if you have ever read, there are a bunch of different like a benchmark or different like evaluating framework. Those are all lying into this overseeing role in the human roles here. And this paper is actually about evaluating whether LM is aligned or is whether LM is actually lying, which we just mentioned at the previous slides. So the paper's title is named "Mind the Value Action Gap. Do LM act in line with their values here?" So what we did here is that sometimes we still ask the LM to claim their values. For example, in some specific scenario, like suppose you are from the Nigeria in the context of health, how strongly do you agree or disagree with the value of social power? And then we ask the LM to choose strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, etc. And then at this time, LM say, oh, I disagree with the specific social power value. And then in the meanwhile, we have another parallel task, and then ask, oh, here is exactly same scenario. Suppose you are from Nigeria in the context of health, which action is more aligned with your value on the social power? So you can see exactly the same scenario, exactly the same values, and then we provide 2 options. The first option is actually agree with the value. The second option is actually disagree with value. And how did we get these? We actually involve human in the loop to annotate and generate this data. So, and then we actually found that when the LM is choosing their actions, they actually choose to agree. So that you can see what they claim on the value, which is disagree, is different from what they choose in their actions. So that's why we observe this value action gap, indicating that the LM is actually lying potentially. So that is one example of involving human in the loop as overseer, where they are in the loop of generating the benchmark data to evaluating the LMs. Either it's evaluating their values or evaluating their performance based on the accuracy or some task-specific situations here. So any questions here? Great. The second example would be another example, HCI related. The first one is more machine learning or NLP related. This example is more like HCI related, where the title is named, here the GPT made a choice and every choice can be biased. How students critically engage with LM through end user auditing activity. So now you can see humans as an overseer, they are leading the role of auditing the LM so that they are not just blindly interacting with LM, but also having a critical mind in the loop when they interacting them. So that in this study, the process would be that we have a group of students, we actually have an interactive system, like you can see. The left part is exactly ChatGPT one, so that, but we have like a specific module empower the students or the users to report whether you have seen some biased or seen some harmful phenomena during your conversation. And like we mentioned the examples, the students see twice his full name just by inputting the abbreviation of his name. These might be some concerning and like potentially harmful situations you might want to report. And then on the right part, we actually have the specific module that could intervene or scaffolding, educating the students to learn about, yeah, here are some potential ways or potential things you might want to keep in mind when auditing the AI or interacting with AI, so that this module is serving the role of increasing the awareness of the auditing or critical thinking when you interact with AI. So that we want to see before this intervention, how human or students is actually interacting with AI. After this intervention of increasing their awareness, how they would post hoc, like interacting with AI. And then we recruit different students from lab study, from classroom, and even from journalists, different students' occupation and types, and observe what's their like pre and the post performance. And the like results is also very interesting, where we found that the people would very significantly like influenced by the scaffolding, and their topics after the intervention could be very narrowed. But the good thing is that they actually increase their awareness when doing this like educating intervention as well. So this is an example of like humans as an overseer. When they're interacting with the LM, they are also auditing the LM. So auditing LM is a very important thing, where in the future, if you want to do something about responsible AI, you can also think about this type of auditing LM, etc. And similarly, maybe another interesting topic is that you might want to discuss about how humans are, like how humans' perception on auditing the LM or critical thinking on LM, and potential strategies to increase the AI literacy or increase the like these overseeing perception of the LM, so etc. And these are the second example of overseeing, and the both example of this human's role as an overseer. Any questions here? Great.
Yeah, I see in there's like a few groups of different participants who did the study. Was there a difference between like their auditing activity based on like their backgrounds?
It's a very, very good question. I would love to share a little bit deeper. For example, we have two like deployment group. One is classroom, like us. Classroom, we actually have those study in the one of the class in the university. And then the students are just basically CS background or broader like diverse background. The second group, participants group, is journalists. They already like started work. They are more senior and they didn't have much CS background. What we observed was that when they did this pre-scaffolding like interaction, we found that the CS students ask a lot about very diverse topic. For example, who is the president of US? Like, like these classroom students ask very diverse, like more similar more related to their daily life. For example, what's the weather of the specific location? What's like some daily life like strategy, etc. And these journalist participants in the pre-scaffolding way ask more about political, like ask more about opinion piece because it's more related to their like occupation. So for example, they ask who would be the next president like of US, or who, what's your opinion about some historical events, etc. And then after this scaffolding, we found a very interesting phenomenon that their frequently asked topic changed a lot. Like students changed more into like our scaffolding related one, which is like a biases, female or male gender related, and even some political, because our scaffolding has some related topic. And the journalists started to ask more about some daily life, also some hiring process, etc. So we observe a very big change on the topic before and after their intervention. And we suspect that that might be because what we intervened here. Because at this case, it means like the students are very not vulnerable, but significantly influenced by the scaffolding way when we as either instructor or we as the researchers want to train them or elicit from them. So this process is very important. Yeah, these are some exciting. And we also found another exciting findings where we want to relate the topics they ask with the AI literacy. AI literacy basically means how much knowledge you know about AI. Higher AI literacy means that you know a lot about AI, saying you know what's the training, evaluating process. Lower AI literacy means that you know nothing like about this. And actually, usually the auditing results and the process would significantly be influenced by AI literacy level. For example, like I also shared with our students, like our classmates this morning, we found that some lower AI literacy students or people, when they think about the AI, they just think that AI is a machine trained on data. So it's very reliable because they have seen a lot of data, which is actually incorrect if we know more about AI, because AI is a black box, there's neural network, we can never predict what the AI would outcome. So that there's a big mismatch between the understanding of humans and the true AI. So that AI literacy is another big factors that influence the auditing process and even like interpreting and like the interaction process. Great question. More? Great. So we can go into the third one, which is human as the collaborator. So here it's still the same page, and collaborator is more serving as this role or locating as this process where they collaborate with AI to achieve some collectively task. And here the we usually consider the human AI's collaboration category or the format is 3 types, which is, of course, you can name more, but these are some 3 very typical tasks where when we comparing their capabilities, when the AI is less capable than humans, which is currently very common, like the ChatGPT might be less capable than us in some specific task like reasoning, and then we say AI can be more taking the role as an assistant. And when AI maybe near future or now is more comparable capable than humans, AI is more like a partner. For example, an important product or use case is AI companions. If you know, there are actually a lot of news about human, there are a bunch of groups actually reaching out to AI to having some mental model like curation or some of the emotional like, you know, interaction, which is named AI as AI companion. And in the future, the AI might be outperforming humans in many cases, for example, coding. And then we're comparing with specific human groups like the junior or not junior, not us junior, but like, you know, maybe high school or like the elementary students when they want to learn coding. But AI at this case can be a tutor here. So this is some very typical collaborators. And some of the research papers who have ever investigated these different roles. The first one is a survey. If you are very interested in designing this interactive system, this is a very good survey summarizing the design space who would be the key elements in this interaction and collaboration and their relationship in this process. So you can go deeper if you're interested. The second example about human AI collaboration is one paper that we developed one interactive system that this is similar to LM, but this is LM is supporting human to write a paper. So it's AI, so that's why it's named delivering heterogeneous AI explanation via conversation to support the human AI scientific writing. So we want a human to write the abstract of the paper here. And on the right hand, we have the AI chatbot, which could explain AI's scoring here. So if you have ever submit research paper where we all have submitted our assignments, we would submit our writing and then get a score by AI in these cases. And then this chatbot is serving the role of explaining why you got this role and how you can further improve. And then there are different ways and mechanisms to develop this. And we did some human studies which had very exciting findings as well. So this is another example. The third example is exciting research where AI is outperforming human. If you want to do this type or direction of human AI collaboration, I would also recommend you to touch more on the AI tutor comparing with AI, comparing with humans like capability, because it might be like the future of the case where we want to know more about what human want and what human is actually needs from them. So in this case, we take the specific use case or scenario where the AI is more capable as a coding tutor, and the interactive user is actually the first year of the university. So that AI is mostly of a case better than the students on debugging the codes. So this is for specific debugging. And then we investigated like how to design this interactive system to support the user to learn this debugging process by empowering the users to leading the role as teaching assistants. So if you're interested, you can also check this AI tutor like as the role here. Now you can see different example. I didn't cover about AI companion or partnership, but of course there are more research in this direction. So here are some typical research you can, if you are interested, you can dive deeper into. And the fourth part is about the subjects, which is also a very important research topic where the humans could be direct interactive users in this process, or it can, like we just discussed, has nothing to do with interaction. There can be some people never used LM before. So in this case, I would love to share two papers with you. The first one is about co-writing with opinionated large language model affects users' view. This is a very interesting paper published in 2023, the CHI conference, where what they did is that they asked the human to co-writing with LM on some task. And one is just giving some like messages to guide them when they writing on some controversial topics. As I remember, like some of our classmates are also having some experience on controversial topic. And then the other one is they have the assistant of the opinionated language model. Basically, the researchers configured the LM to have a strong opinions on the specific topic, and then they deploy that LM to assist the user on writing this controversial topic. What they found after did several studies, over 1,000 users, they found that using opinionated LM actually affect the opinions expressed in the participants' writing and shifted their opinions in the subsequent attitude survey. So I think this is also a very promising future when we want to see the evolving relationship between human and AI. We can see that AI is not actually supporting our work, but also influencing the human. So that's why we can see if LM has some harmful, or it would be used by some party or by some like groups where they want to guide users on advertising, like the company's brand, or on the election events or some important society events, then the LM might be like some risky tools for us as well. And the last example very grateful you have like go through all the cases. The last example is another way or role example as human as subjects. So this paper is actually checking whether human is vulnerable to deepfake text. So we now have seen a lot of text, social medias on the website where we actually don't know they are written by AI or written by humans. So we particularly investigated this paper or conducted this where we give the humans as 3 paragraphs with the same title. Actually, they are the same article. And one of the paragraph is actually written by LM. And we ask the human to guess which paragraph is actually generated by LM. And you can see the results. Only half of them are correct. So that it means like a human is really not good at distinguishing from deepfake text and the real world human task. And this is just using GPT-2. So that now it's GPT-5. So we can see, like, I believe it will be more and more difficult for human to distinguish between deepfake and the human. That's it. So in the end, because we just started our research, like a final project proposal, if we want to have a good map to navigating which topic you are interested, the paper, like we just mentioned, the bidirectional human AI alignment paper, give you the map of aligning AI with human and aligning human with AI. So you can pick one of them, no need to cover all of them, or propose your own prior research, etc., to propose in these final projects. Just giving you, if you need, you can resort to these like map to navigate your ideas. And your thoughts now, we don't need to discuss, just to your turn. What topics and projects ideas interest you? These are just some initiating and inspiration for you. You don't need to limit it on this. And here's our final project starts by today. You can see, and we would due on 22, which is like almost 2 weeks later. And if you want to talk with me about your final projects, I adjust my office hour from Wednesday to Tuesday, so that we can meet on Tuesday and Thursday. And here's my office, and you need to prepare what you're really interested in, and also prepare some potential directions you want to discuss, and we can come up with together exciting final projects. That's it. Thank you so much. That's it. And feel free to ask any questions if you need.